But it's important to speak about her because
as an actor, you don't get to dictate anything. You don't get to dictate if a film actually happens. You don't get to dictate when it is shot, how it is shot, if you can ever speak about it to the public. You are simply just there to show up and say your lines and look the way they want you to look. That is our job, and that was my job on this production. So again, that's really all I can say. In the film industry, when you are an actor, when you sign one of these contracts in the entertainment industry, I think a lot of people on the outside think that if you are somebody who has a lot of publicity around you and your name is attached to a project, that means that you have a ton of control or a ton of intel, but usually that is not the case.
But oh no, these big bad feminists now are telling us that's ridiculous. How dare you want to meet a handsome prince and be swept off of your feet and live happily ever after? No, you should want to be the prince.
Rachel Zegler just detonated a bomb in the heart of London's theater district, and the shockwaves are racing all the way back to Hollywood. Yesterday, the 24-year-old star everyone blamed for torpedoing Disney's Snow White filed a countersuit that flips the narrative we've been spoon-fed for months.
You know, I've been getting a lot of questions about, like, how do I feel? Let's address the elephant in the room.
Instead of the tantrum-throwing diva described in leaked rehearsal notes, Rachel paints herself as the target of a meticulously choreographed smear campaign. A plot so ruthless, it sounds like tabloid fanfic until you read the legal paperwork. She accuses the producers of the West End Evita revival of sabotage, psychological warfare, and, most damning, quietly shadow replacing her while cameras rolled, waiting for the moment she cracked so they could leak the perfect meltdown montage.
Video is gonna get taken out of context, and I know that at this point I can't really stop people from doing that because that's what my whole existence on the internet is just me being taken out of context and stuff, which is fine. That's what I signed up for, isn't it? So much ground that I never thought I would be able to cover, and that people think I'm doing poorly and other people think I'm doing gracefully, and I don't think I'm doing it at all. So,
if her story holds, the real drama wasn't on stage at all. It was in the back offices, where reputations are traded like poker chips and the house always thinks it will win. But for once, the house may have miscalculated, because Rachel isn't just defending herself, she's gunning for vindication, damages, and a public reckoning that could red-wedding the careers of everyone who tried to bury her. This is the story of how a promising comeback role morphed into a double lawsuit, an internet civil war, and a cautionary tale about the brutal politics of live theater. And trust me, the end of this video contains a twist even Broadway couldn't script. Let's rewind to spring, when the buzz around the Evita revival felt electric. On March 14th, casting agencies blasted the headline, Rachel Zegler to make West End debut as Eva Peron. For Rachel, fresh off months of online draggings over her Snow White soundbites, this was billed as a redemption arc.
What is it like for you now, having all of this? I think it's a lot of pressure, right?
It's definitely a lot of pressure, but I surround very good people who keep me grounded and try to just stay as true to myself as I possibly can.
No green screen this time, no Disney oversight committee, just a white-hot spotlight, a live orchestra, and a role that had minted legends from Patti LuPone to Elena Roger. PR teams leaned in hard. Early interviews painted Rachel as laser-focused, studying archival footage, grinding through Argentine dialect coaching, and joking about how singing Don't Cry For Me Argentina in front of British royalty was scarier than any YouTube comment section. Ticket portals saw a surge the first 48 hours, and theater Twitter crowned her the next big thing. The narrative was clear. Talented underdog claws back respect. Yet insiders later revealed that the excitement masked a silent panic. The revival's backers were over-leveraged, front-loading expenses to impress skeptical investors. Every hour of rehearsal overtime represented a spreadsheet column bleeding red. That tension sat heavy in the rehearsal studio like London fog.
It is the real beginning of my life as a young lady of America. Of America.
And while Rachel flashed press-friendly smiles, producers fretted about break-even projections. They needed a smash. Their margins were thinner than a playbill page. Lurking beneath all the smiles was a fragile conduct clause broad enough to hang anyone the moment the vibe soured. Most leads signed them. Few imagined they'll ever be weaponized. But as we'd soon learn, weaponization was already Plan B, and the person tied most tightly to that fuse, Rachel Zegler. The honeymoon ended before the prop department finished the first balcony. By early April, rehearsal gossip trickled out through stage door whispers and TikTok blinds. Sources claimed Rachel pushed back on choreography she felt over-sexualized Eva Peron, requesting historical authenticity instead of Instagram burlesque. Others said she questioned lighting angles that threw harsh shadows across dancers, a cinematographer's eye that irked an old-school crew. One grainy vertical clip surfaced on social media showing an understudy, not Rachel, belting the Buenos Aires reprise while production heads took notes. The caption read, "When your star is probably fired, but they won't say it." Speculation exploded, and the hashtag #ZeglerOut trended worldwide. Reporters called the press agent, who shrugged it off as standard understudy coverage.
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it.
Hold on.
All right. Congrats, Rachel.
But privately, damage control emails flew faster than dance call pirouettes. Days later, a PDF of internal director notes hit Reddit. Line after blistering line labeled Rachel combative, chronically tardy, and headline gold, royalty in the wrong kingdom. Context missing, nuance gone. The internet feasted. Mammers spliced Rachel's past red carpet sound bites into supercuts of perceived arrogance.
When she's starring in it and she's the main character. Go ahead, Rob, play the clip.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them,
She's a good actress.
that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
The ego on this girl is ridiculous.
Wow.
While self-styled theater pundits declared the revival cursed, producers convened emergency meetings, consulted crisis PR firms, and began tallying potential lost revenue. Instead of plugging leaks, they drafted something far more drastic, a breach of contract lawsuit that might jettison the problem and claw back part of her 7-figure salary. Rachel, unaware the guillotine had been assembled, kept showing up, trying to salvage a show quietly stacking evidence against her. April 18th arrived like a thunderclap. Trade rag. The stage broke the exclusive. Producers sue Rachel Zegler for breach of contract. The filing accused her of chronic lateness, unprofessional conduct, and leaking confidential materials that materially harmed the show's commercial outlook. Producers demanded undisclosed damages and asked the court to gag her from public comment. Hours later, the official Evita account posted a clipped statement. "We look forward to moving ahead with a cast that shares our vision and professionalism."
And if you've ever seen Evita, it is a challenging part to play. And I don't think she has the temerity, the stamina, you pick a word here, in order to pull it off going, every single day that the theater is open.
Subtext, Rachel was done. Entertainment bloggers seized the breach filing like a gift-wrapped sequel. Live stream panels tallying her alleged sins, missing calls, rewriting lines, refusing a wig that aged Ava down. Each claim metastasized into memes. Beneath the jeering, veterans felt a shiver. Lawsuits between producers and leads are rare. They air dirt investors prefer scented with lavender. To sue mid-rehearsal risks insurance nightmares, union grievances, and box office implosion, meaning the production must have rock-solid evidence. That assumption overlooked one possibility. Detonating the bomb was the evidence. Create a public record framing your star as saboteur, and you rewrite history before opening night. Most actors fold. Rachel was not most actors. By the last week of April, the dogpile reached critical mass. Morning radio chuckled about Zegler's stage fright tantrum. Late-night hosts riffed on Evita lyrics. Don't Cry For Me rehearsal floor. A YouTube channel clocked 3 million views dissecting body language micro-expressions in year-old junket clips, diagnosing everything from narcissism to activist fatigue. Daily Mail published an infographic showing a 23% ticket revenue dip post-leaks, math conveniently ignoring a rail strike that week. Sponsors noticed. A luxury watch brand scrubbed its premiere teaser. A hotel group placed its hospitality deal under review. Rachel's socials gathered dust. PR advisors told her to go dark, while lawyers sorted facts. But silence is a vacuum, and vacuums fill with conspiracy. Rumors placed her in a Swiss wellness retreat, then in a Burbank NDA bunker. Both were false. She was in a modest London flat, logging evidence with attorneys. Even friends hedged. A choreographer who'd praised her Shakespeare run suddenly liked a tweet calling her unprofessional.
And then, because, you seem to be dominating the world of musicals, you're doing Evita in London, right?
Big Andrew Lloyd Webber fan right over there.
Was that your dad whistling?
Yeah. You guys see Stanley Tucci back there?
That'll be fun, huh?
It's going to be the best time. It's my West End debut. I'm so excited.
You've done a lot of Broadway.
Yeah, well, yeah, I did Shakespeare for 20 weeks. I'm coming off of that right now.
20 weeks of Shakespeare.
That's a lot.
Do they say like the audiences in England are different than American audiences?
I've heard they're more reserved, and I certainly didn't have a very reserved experience on Broadway.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were in an 800-seat theater in the round, so you really are this close to your audience at times. And I'm with the biggest heartthrob in the...
Agents whispered that aligning with Rachel could spook casting directors. It felt like checkmate. Producers had social proof, sponsor sympathy, and a rival actress ready to step in. They hadn't counted on their villain returning with a counter-narrative meticulous enough to bulldoze theirs. May drifted in with ominous calm. The stage door stayed shut to press, rehearsal windows papered over, and the production's social feeds pivoted to generic platitudes. Inside, call sheets looked like Swiss cheese, ensemble understudies swapping principal runs hourly, while morale cratered. Disney postponed a May press blitz for Snow White, scrubbing Rachel's name from interview lineups. Her lawyers, meanwhile, combed Slack logs, costume schedules, and CCTV timestamps. They pieced together how notes were handed to Rachel publicly, but discreetly to others, how rehearsal footage captured every tense exchange, yet omitted moments she proposed solutions, how an understudy booked off-site costume fittings days before the breach suit hit. They saw sabotage, not diva theatrics, but time was the enemy. If the revival collapsed first, Rachel would be frozen as the girl who detonated a classic.
Things do not look good for Rachel Zegler and her acting career as we know it today. What do you think's gonna happen, girl? You are sending tweets, making posts, saying these things at events. You have a character to play. I'm sorry, but dividing people and making comments about half of our nation is not going to get people in the movie theaters to support you.
She needed to strike while the show still lived, so the plan crystallized. Wait for producers to think they'd won, then counterpunch with a legal dossier reading like a thriller. All Rachel had to do was keep quiet, let the internet roar, and trust her evidence to roar louder.
But it's also really important to me that I share with you not only the really good, exciting moments, but also like the little blips where I just don't feel great. I think that's really important that you see me as a human being, because I think a lot of people don't. So I don't know. I want that disclaimer out.
May 20th, 9 a.m., London time, the storm reversed. A 102-page countersuit hit the High Court docket, and its executive summary was pure napalm. Rachel alleged a pre-planned campaign of reputational sabotage, controlled leaks, deliberate rehearsal disruptions, covert auditions of replacements. Emails suggested a PR firm pitched the diva meltdown narrative days before the alleged outburst. Beyond reputational damage, she sought heavy monetary compensation and, more terrifying for producers, court-ordered release of the full, unedited rehearsal archive. The countersuit dismantled the breach claim. Clock-in logs showed her early 9 of 12 days. She was called late. PDF metadata traced the infamous director note leak to a marketing intern's laptop. Transcripts revealed that her combative moment was questioning why labor rights lyrics were being axed. Hashtags flipped in minutes. #Zegler out became #setup_Zegler. TikTok lawyers performed dramatic readings. A historian noted Patti LuPone once hurled roses at a conductor yet headlined for decades.
Zegler has been labeled a PR nightmare, and we can see why. The Walt Disney Company seems to be trying to keep her totally hidden, as we haven't seen any interviews regarding Snow White since the controversy surfaced. Of course, people now are just waiting for her next slip-up. What other outrageous thing will she say? But I have a suspicion that Zegler is getting some serious brainwashing media training, so she can keep saying the same things.
So why crucify Rachel for querying lighting cues? Producers went silent. With the counter-narrative unleashed, social media entered whiplash mode. Influencers who'd milked millions trashing Rachel now posted mea culpas. Reddit's West End built color-coded timelines linking each leak to internal production dates, uncovering discrepancies, like a call sheet marking her absent on a day she was photographed entering the studio. Team Rachel battled #stagecraft scam as digital artists painted her wielding legal papers like a sword, and meme lords photoshopped producers diving into money pits. Variety questioned whether theater power dynamics let gatekeepers weaponize NDAs. The BBC hosted a roundtable where a lawyer called the suit the tip of an expensive iceberg. Sponsors bolted. The watch brand quit entirely, citing transparent creative processes. Cast allegiances fractured. Morale hit sub-basement. Through it all, Rachel stayed offline, annotating deposition prep.
I'm like so ready to just throw my phone away. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but I know it's gonna happen. If you have any opinions, I don't want to hear them.
In an age-rewarding hot takes, her restraint felt almost rebellious. Another twist the internet couldn't resist. By early June, the production hovered on life support. Rehearsals paused pending legal resolution. Actors returned costumes, carpenters were reassigned, and orchestra options lapsed. A leaked spreadsheet suggested the show needed 3 sold-out weeks just to crawl back to solvency. Casting agents whispered, radioactive. Not about Rachel, but anyone tied to the show. One producer lost a regional tour gig after a think piece named them. Rival shows adopted strict no-phone policies to prevent another Evita incident. Hollywood watched with intrigue. Disney strategists calculated postponing Snow White teasers. Streaming giants drafted leak insurance. Commentators linked Rachel's claims to broader labor fights, from writers battling AI residual clauses to K-pop idols suing over oppressive contracts. Her countersuit became a symbol, the individual creative pushing back on opaque power structures. Whether she won or lost, backstage leaks would never be dismissed as quirky gossip again. And yet the saga refuses to fade. 2 days ago, a cryptic account, in Truth from the Wings, posted a 7-second teaser. A shaky camera panning across the stage, then a voice muttering, "We'll leak this if she doesn't quit," caption, full tape drops when the injunction fails. Producers scrambled for an emergency injunction against unknown parties, fearing a video that could prove intent or finish them off. Rumors swirl that multiple crew members duplicated rehearsal archives after noticing files disappearing.
To this day, we have the opposite to know. Oh, but once they allow a picture ahead.
If true, evidence isn't in a single vault. It's scattered across laptops and cloud backups. For Rachel, the footage is double-edged. If it shows provocation, her case rockets. If it shows an unfiltered meltdown, outrage boomerangs. Industry lawyers call this the evidence brink, each side holding cards that could bankrupt the other, posturing while the audience leans in, popcorn ready. The scandal producers engineered to erase a difficult lead has grown into a hydra sprouting new heads with every legal swing. So where does this melodrama land tonight? Rachel Zegler and the Evita producers now face each other across a legal no man's land, both claiming moral high ground, both armed with receipts the other hopes never see daylight. If Rachel's evidence proves sabotage, she'll expose an industry tactic many suspected, but few could prove. If producers discredit her, they may limp away with a gutted budget, but an unbroken precedent that keeps stars obedient. Yet whichever side triumphs, the bigger lesson is already public. In 2025, one vertical phone video can incinerate multi-million-dollar deals, shift fan loyalties overnight, and force creative powerhouses to lawyer up before they leak. The rehearsal room is no longer sacred. It's a potential crime scene, and every actor, every crew member carries a camera capable of turning whispers into global headlines. Keep your notifications on. The next court date is July 3rd. Between now and then, any new leak could flip the script yet again, and whoever controls that footage controls the story the world believes. Drop your take in the comments. Savvy whistleblower or calculated comeback? Smash that subscribe button, because if the full tape drops, you'll want to be here when the spotlight swings. Until then, remember, in show business, the real drama data is rarely on stage, and the truth is always rehearsing just out of sight.